Sometimes an increase in one quantity causes a decrease in another quantity. This is our junior certificate mathematics lesson. My name is Ragwani Khare. Join us as we discuss this topic further. Before we start discussing this topic, let us have a look at the lesson objectives, because that's what will guide the discussion. The lesson objective says solving problems involving the inverse proportion. So here it says inverse proportion. And before we start discussing this, we need to have an understanding of what inverse proportion is all about. Two quantities are in inverse proportion when one increases at the same rate as the other decreases. So two keywords here. When one quantity increases, the other one decreases. That is the inverse proportion. We don't expect the two to be increasing. When the other one increases, another one will decrease. That's the inverse proportion. Now with me here, I'm with a student here, Patience. And let me hear from her what she wants us to cover under this topic.
Good day, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Khare. Can you please elaborate on inverse proportion? How does it differ from direct proportion?
Thank you, Patience. You are saying I should elaborate more on this, giving examples. I've got an example here which will make you understand this topic even further. I want to believe it will even help the students back home there. Let us have a look at the example. It says a certain family buys 10 kg of rice as part of its monthly grocery. Every day they cook 0.5 kg of rice. Draw a graph to illustrate the amount of rice left. The amount of rice left after a certain number of days. So this is what we are expected to illustrate in our graph here. So we have to choose the number of days and then the amount of rice left after those days. Now let us start where the number of days is 0. What happens when the number of days is 0? That is at the start when we still have the 10 kg. We are saying every day they cook 0.5 kg of rice. So this is 0 times 0.5 kg. It will give us 0. Then 10 minus 0 is 10. So when the number of days is 0, we are still at 10. And then what if the number of days is 2? That will be 2 times 0.5. And then when we multiply 2 and 0.5, what do we get? 2 times 0.5, you can just multiply to try and make sure that the answer is correct. 2 multiplied by 0.5, this gives you 2 times 1 over 2. 2 here once, 2 here once. So this is just 1. So 1. And then we are saying we need to know the amount of rice left after a certain number of days, not the number of rice left after a certain number of days. Now, when the number of days is 2, the amount of rice that had been used is 1. So that means the amount of rice left is 10 minus 1. Then this will give us 9. So after 2 days, 9 kg of rice will still be there. And then what if the number of days is 4? At day 4, what happens when the number of days is 4? This will be 4 times 0.5, which is half. Then 2 here once, 2 into 4 is 2. Then this gives 2 times 1 is 2. And then this 2, we have to subtract the 2 here from the 10 kg. So 10 minus 2, this will simply be 8. So we are saying after 4 days, there will only be 8 kg of rice left. You can actually see from here that what is happening here, as we increase the number of days, the number of rice left decreases. And that is the inverse proportion. We will graph this and see what happens, because when it's in the diagram, it will even explain this concept simpler. So 0, 10. Let us plot that point, 0, 10. The point is 0, 10. We need to plot the point 0, 10. The point 0, 10, it should be here. And then let's check if we can plot the point 29. 29. 29 is not there. The point 29. Right. 29 is here. That's the point 29. 29. And then the point 48 is 48. Right, the point 48. Now we are to draw the line passing through the 3 points. This point is 0, 10, and then the point 2, 9, then the last point is 4, 8. Just take a ruler and then draw a straight line. But to check if at all your line will be straight, we can always choose the next point. Let us choose the point 20. We can choose when the number of days is 20. Now when the number of days is 20, that is when we got 20 here. What will happen on this side is 20 multiplied by 0.5, which is then 2 here once, 2 into 20 is 10. So we've got 10. Now 10 minus 10 is 0. So it means when the number of days is 20, will be here. It will be 20, 0. Then you take a ruler and then draw a straight line passing through these points. Take your ruler, draw a line passing through the points you have plotted. Right, this is a line passing through all the plotted points. The first point 0, 10, second point 2, 9, then we've got 4, 8, then the last one being 20, 0. That is when the number of days now is 20, there will be nothing. There will be no rice to cook there. So this is the graph that we are having. Now, when you check, you can see that as you increase the number, or as you decrease the number of days, the amount of rice left decreases as well. When we got 20 days, you can see that now we are moving in this direction. We are increasing the number of days. The amount of rice left will decrease. But when we increase the amount of rice, the number of days decreases. So this is what we call the inverse proportion. And I want to believe this has been very clear. As I said, it becomes even simpler when we elaborate this using a graph. So this is the inverse proportion. Now, let us understand that with inverse proportion, we expect one quantity to increase as the other one decreases. And this is what had happened. Welcome back from the short break. Remember, we are still discussing the inverse proportion. Now, I want to believe you got a question that you want to ask so that you benefit more on this topic.
This is interesting. I've not understood what inverse proportion is all about. Can you please give an example where we solve the problem by calculations as opposed to using a graph?
The example here on the board will help us answer that question. Let us have a look at the example on the board and then work it out. The example says it takes 9 men 30 days to build a 2-bedroomed house. How long will it take 20 men to build the same house? That's a question. Of course, we are making an assumption here. The men are working at the same rate. So it says 9 men takes 30 days. And then what about 20 men? How long will they take? Now, we need to start by saying one man will take it's the 9 times 30 days. So this is the time one man will take, and this gives us 9 times 30 is 0 here, and then 9 times 3 270. So one man will take 270 days. But the question says, how long will it take 20 men? So we are saying here, this is the time that will be taken by one man. Now what about 20 men? This is how long 20 men will take. 20 men will take the 270 divided by 20, because we are told that They are 20 in number. And then this will be, this 0 cancels this. And this is 27 divided by 2. 2 into 2 once. 2 into 27 into 2 rather, it's 1. And then 2 into 7, it's 3. Remainder 1. 2 into 10 is 5. So what we are simply saying here is 20 men will take 13.5 days. This is the time that 20 men will take to build the same house. Remember, this is the inverse proportion, and here this is the, it says it takes 9 men to build, it takes 9 men 30 days to build a 2-bedroomed house. How long will it take 20 men to build the same house? And we are saying 20 men will take 13.5. That's the answer to this question. I want to believe we need to give another example to make sure that you understand this question even further. Let us have a look at another example. It says 3 identical photocopy machines, it takes 5 hours to complete a job. One machine breaks down. How long will it take to complete a similar job? When there are 3, they are taking 5. Now, what if one machine breaks? 3 identical ones take 5 hours to complete a job. One machine breaks, and then it says how long will it take to complete a job? Right. One machine will take the 5 hours times 3. This gives 5 times 3 is 15. So one machine will take 15 hours. One machine take 15 hours. Now the question says how one machine breaks down. How long will it take? Will it now take to complete a job? Remember, when one machine breaks, it means instead of having 3 now, there are 2 machines because the other one is broken down. Therefore, you got 2 machines. So the question is simply saying, how long will 2 machines take? So 2 machines will take 15 divided by, that is the time taken by one machine divided by 2. And then what do we have? It's 15 divided by 2. This will be 2 into 2 once. 2 into 15 is 7. Remainder 1. So this is 7.5 hours. 7.5 hours. So this simply saying if one machine breaks, then what will happen is 2 machines that are remaining will take 7.5 hours to complete the job. And let us check what happened here. 3 identical photocopy machines takes 5 hours. There are 5 hours to complete this job. Now, because one machine has broken down, what happens is you are now reducing the number of machines. When you reduce the number of machines, the hours will increase. So this is the inverse proportion. You increase the other side, and the other side decreases. And this is what had happened here. I want to believe this has answered your question. Let us move on and find out what else you want us to cover.
Thank you for this opportunity once more. It's not a question as such. I just propose you work out 2 more examples to further our understanding, as inverse proportion can sometimes be tricky.
I'll keep on giving some examples, and I believe it will help you understand this topic even further. Let us have a look at another example. It says 6 farm workers can harvest a field of sorghum in 4 days. So there are 6 farm workers and they can harvest a field of sorghum in 4 days. How long will it take 8 people to harvest the same field? How long will it take 8 people to harvest the same field? The concept here is you have to start by saying for instance, in this example, how long will one worker take? Then calculate the time taken by one worker to harvest this field. They are 6. So to find the time taken by one worker, it will be one worker will take the 6 times 4. This gives 24. This gives 24. This is the time taken by one worker. But the question says, how long will it take 8 people to harvest the same field? So if one person can take 24 days, what about a person? And this is how we do it. This is how we work it out. How long will it take 8? Then 8 people will take 24 divided by 8. And this gives 24 divided by 8. This is 3 days. 3 days. So this is what happens. 8 people will take 3 days to harvest the same field. Every time after working this out, check if your answer makes sense to you. 6 farm workers can harvest a field of sorghum in 4 days. Then it says, how long will it take 8 people to harvest the same field? Remember, this is the direct proportion. So when you increase one quantity, the other one decreases. So this is what you should check. Let us go for a short break. When we come, we'll have to look at this and check if at all the one quantity is increasing as the other one decreases. Remember, before we went for a short break, we were still working out this problem here. And then I said, every time check if your answer is making sense with regard to the given question. Under the direct proportion, not direct but inverse, under the inverse proportion, as you increase one quantity, the other one decreases. Now let us check if at all that's what happened. It says 6 farm workers can harvest a field of sorghum in 4 days. 4 days. Right. Now, when you increase the number of people, what should happen to the number of days? You are increasing the number of people, therefore we expect the number of days to decrease. So this makes sense because we are increasing the number of people, and as it increases, the time will decrease. So it's an indirect proportion, which is the inverse proportion as well. So this is a correct answer. Let us have a look at another example to make you understand even better. It says, a school with a student population of 1,600 has enough food to last 20 days. The population of the students is 1,600. The school management decides to cook for the Form 3s only, who are 614 number. How long would the same food last them? So what happens here is we are now reducing the number of students from 1,600 to 640. And then the question says, how long will the same food last? We are reducing the number of students, and then we expect the number of days to increase because we are saying this is the inverse proportion. So as you increase one quantity, the other one decreases. So here we are decreasing the number of students from 1,600 to 640. And as we do this, we expect the number of days to increase. So the answer that we are going to get before we even calculate it, we expect the answer to be more than 20. It should be greater than 20. So let us calculate it. We start by finding how long one student will take to finish the food. One student will take 1600 times 20 days. And then this will be 0, 0, and then the last is 0. Then 2 times 16 is 32. So one student will take 32,000 days. Now, the question says, how long will the same food last 640? So we want to know the time taken by 640 students to finish this. And this is how we'll do it. So 640 students will take 32000 divided by 640. This is what the time that the 640 students will take. This 0 cancels this, and then you have 3200 divided by 64. Just take your calculator and then divide this. This is our calculator here. It's 3200 divided by 64. 50. So the 640 students will now take 50 days. 50 days. 640 students take 50 days. So this is the time that will last 640 students. And let us check if at all our answer has decreased. It says a school with a student population of 1600 has enough food to last 20 days. Now, we reduced the number of students from 1600 to 640. Now, as we reduce the number from this, we expect the number of days here to increase, because this is the inverse proportion. As we increase one side, the other side should decrease. And we got the answer as 50, which has increased from 20 to 50. So the answer here is correct. This is the inverse proportion. Now, remember, every time when you deal with the inverse proportion, you expect one quantity to increase as the other one decreases. This is what you should check for. Before we end our lesson, let us check on what we have covered so far. The lesson objective. We were dealing with the inverse proportion. And remember, we said under the inverse proportion, two quantities are in inverse proportion. When one increases, the other one decreases. That's what you should know. Note that as you increase one quantity, the other one should decrease. Before you can even start calculating, this is what you should have in mind. As you increase one, the other one should decrease. When you decrease the other one should increase. That is the inverse proportion. Now, I have covered more than what you wanted I want to believe. And let us stop here till we meet again in the next lesson. Thank you.